If I had to start lure fishing all over again, here is what I would do.
Dude, that it! Soft plastics is one of the simplest forms of fishing, except everyone overcomplicates it when they're trying to teach others.
If you don't know me, I'm Travis, and I've been fishing for the last 10 years. This is your younger Travis with a butter brim, with about 9 out of those 10 years being with lures.
Because I get really bored bait fishing. I don't want to just stand there doing nothing.
I know your pain points,
What is the point in this?
as well as all your struggles.
Oh, it just came off. So in this video, I'm going to be telling you the
Gear to go out and buy, like the rods, reels, braid, leader, lures, everything. How to use every single type of soft plastic, like
prawn lures, paddle tails, curly tails, or jerk shads, as well as keeping the amount of money you need to spend as little as possible. Because for this one hard body, you can get this many soft plastics. And for this one swim bait, you can get this many soft plastics. So let's start you out with a rod and reel. This is going to be the exact thing you want to buy when you're going into a fishing shop. You want to get a 2 to 4 kilo rod, probably the cheapest one you can. And then you want to pair that rod up with a size 2500 reel. And then on your 2500 reel, you want to get 10-pound braid. Now let's break each one of these down. So since you're a beginner, I'm going to just assume that you're a land-based estuary fisherman. So a 2 to 4 kilo with a 2500 size reel plus 10-pound braid will literally stop everything you can catch in the estuaries.
see these two trevallies? They're 58 centimeters. I caught these both on 6-pound braid and leader. And then this mangrove jack, 10-pound braid. And then this giant platy, also 10 pound.
Some things may be harder than the other, but you will stop it. You want a 2 to 4 kilo rod, because unlike this rod that's a 1 to 3 kilo, it will be a little bit more thicker sorta. So if you do run it into walls, it won't break as easy, is what I'm trying to say. So the rod size you want is 7 foot to 7'4", even 7'6" really. Anything lower than 7 foot I feel like isn't good for throwing the little lures out. And when lure fishing, you want maximum distance so you have the best chance of catching something. And then anything above 7'6" is just too long and you're gonna look pretty stupid with a rod that's so long. Most of my rods are 7'4", so I feel like 7'4" is a good in between. It's long enough that you can whip the little lures out, but it's not big enough that you're gonna look stupid with a long ass rod. And then you want a size 2500 reel, because the braid I'm going to tell you to get is a little thicker than what I would normally use, but because you're just a beginner, it'll be fine. So 2500 size reel will hold enough capacity of a little thicker line. Now the reason I'm telling you to get braid instead of straight mono or something is because braid for lures is a lot better. Braid comes in thicker diameters than mono, so 10-pound braid will usually be a lot thinner than 10-pound mono, which means you can cast it a lot further, as well as having thinner lines that are stronger. Also, you want 10-pound because when you first start out, like me, I started with 6 and 8, which is still pretty strong, and everyone underestimates how strong 6 and 8 pound is. You'll just think it's so weak. You'll either loosen too much and lose all fish, or you'll tighten too much and you'll snap straight away. So 10 pound is a good medium starting. It will be thin enough that you'll be able to throw the little lures out far, but it won't be thin enough that it's going to snap if a fish looks at it. Now for both your rod and reel, you want the cheapest ones you can really get, because when I first started, I had a habit of running my rods into the roof, walls, doors, even kayak fishing. I ran it into tons of trees and snapping them. So that way, if you buy the cheapest stuff, you can snap it and it won't hurt that much. Also, your reels might end up in the salt water or in the sand, or you might just not care about them that much by hosing them every time. So if it does end up breaking, you can end up replacing it pretty cheaply. Another good point is you might actually not like lure fishing. So if you end up hating it and not wanting to do it, you're not out of pocket that much.
If you're a complete NPC and can't decide what you're going to get or think it's too hard, copy the exact setup I'm going to put in the cart right now. Go to BCF website, search up Diver Red Bros, click on the rod, click on 7 foot, scroll down to 2 to 4 kilo, add it to cart. Then search up Shimano Sedona, choose size 2500, add it to cart. And then find this 10-pound Shimano braid, or any braid that you want to use really. Add it to cart.
If you can, try to spend at least $50 on braid, because braid's one of those things where you want a good one, because otherwise you'll just be getting tangled a lot, it will snap, you just won't enjoy your time. And I've definitely been there. I've tried to cheap out on braid and I end up running out of the whole spool of braid because it's just horrible, and then end up spending more on more expensive braid where I could have just bought the more more expensive braid instead of costing me the expensive braid and the cheap braid, so it ends up being more expensive. So learn from my mistakes and try to spend minimum $50 on braid. And then another tip is, if you want really good braid, go to a smaller fishing shop that's not BCF, like Barra Jacks, Kiwana Tackle World, and try to find braid that has zero English on it and it's fully in Japan. And just try to find the little writing that says 10 pound. Anything that has no English on it and is in fully Japan, if you pick up a packet and you can read it, put it back on. Pick up one that's fully Japan, you can't read it, you will not go wrong. Some of my best braid has been braid where I cannot read the packet and it's lasted me years. Super thin, super strong, cast really well, and I got no clue what brand it is, so I can't tell anyone because it's just Japanese, I don't know. And then so this comes out for a grand total of $244. Now for a fishing setup, that's pretty cheap. Below $250, because then you can get some cheap, I'll actually get you some leader as well. So there, try to find the cheapest spool of mono. Pretty controversial because it's technically not a leader material. Leader is fluorocarbon. But if you're watching this, you're new to fishing. So for $15, you can get 300 meters of 8-pound leader. And that will last you literally years. Where if you buy fluorocarbon, it's usually about $50 for 30 meters. You get a lot less. So if you got 300 meters, you can mess up your leader knots and all that, and you can just cut it off, snag everything, cut it off, and you won't care about losing it as much because it's so cheap. So just get mono, and then when you start getting good at tying knots and actually learning fishing, then switch to fluorocarbon. But at the moment, 8-pound mono isn't exactly thick, so it won't really matter if a fish sees fluorocarbon or mono. Add it to cart. And then we come out to $260 for a full setup. You just got to buy lures now. For $260, that's really cheap for a good lure flicking setup. So do click and collect so that way you can just walk into BCF, pick it up, walk out without any BCF worker getting into your head thinking you don't need it or you need something bigger or something. This is Travis certified, so get it. I'm actually telling you the stuff that I'm using so you know it actually works and is actually decent, because this is my old diver Red Rose. That lasted me 4 years, and then the eyelets started cracking and snapping my braid, so I had to upgrade. But I just got the exact same rod, because for $100, I had it for 4 years, so that's pretty much $25 per year. And I still have my Shimano Sedona, so well over 5 years of use out of this one reel. And if you think $100 for a rod is expensive, wait till you start actually getting hardcore, because this is like a $500 rod. And the moment you don't take care of it, you snap it, it hurts a bit. This is pretty much the exact thing I use, except the models are newer, and I don't use that braid or leader, but it's $15 mono, who cares? The braid is just cheap. You're gonna cut it, you're gonna lose it, just get cheap stuff to start out with. So you've come home, you've got your rod, your reel, and now you're gonna set it up to go lure fishing. All you gotta do is just put the reel on, then just spool it up with braid. You just tie a knot, then hold it tight, then wind the braid on. It's not that hard. Don't overcomplicate it, and just put the braid on. And then on the end of your braid, you put the 8-pound leader that I got you. So the way to put leader on is you use a double uni knot. It's the easiest knot to tie. Essentially, if you can tie a normal knot like this, you can tie a double uni knot. Because you're just tying a normal knot, like going around and around, pulling it tight. With just an extra bit of line in there. Here's how to tie the double uni knot. Start by laying your braid and your leader parallel to each other like this. And then it doesn't matter if you start with your leader line or your braid line first. But for this video, I started with the leader line. And then you just make a loop like this and then lay it on top of your braid. And then you pick them both up where they all intersect. Then you wrap the leader tag end around each other like you're tying a normal knot, but you're keeping that extra bit of line in there. And then you pull it tight. And then you just do the exact same thing with your braid. You do the loop, pinch it where they all join, wrap it around, and then once they're both done, you've pulled them both tight, grab your leader and then grab your braid, and then you pull them together and they will slide down into each other, locking off each other. And then just cut your tag ends off, and that's the double uni line. So there's no excuse for not using braid. You don't want to be that person that says they run straight braid. You will get bullied. I will bully you. Don't do it. Now to soft plastics. You can get any ones you want, but the brands that I use is Rapala, Crush City, Daiwa, Bait Junkie, and then Pro Lure. If you've never rigged a jig head in a soft plastic before, I highly recommend Pro Lure. They're made out of a harder soft plastic, so it's a lot easier to line everything up. So choose Pro Lure paddle grubs if you've never used a jig head or a soft plastic, or rig them. And even if you mess it up, you can pull it out then put it back in. But with all the other soft plastics like Daiwa and Crush City, they're a lot harder.
Not to confuse you, when I mean they're a lot harder, I don't mean the actual plastics harder. Both Crush City and Daiwa, they're made out of like super stretchy stuff. So when you're putting a jig head in through them, if you've never done it before, it's really easy to not rig it straight and they'll be wibbly wobbly. Where compared to the Pro Lure, it's a lot more forgiving. So if you mess it up, it still looks straight.
So get good on using the Pro Lures and then choose whatever brand you want.
So now this is how you rig up a soft plastic with a jig head in it. Before, how I was saying Pro Lures are a lot easier than Daiwa or Bait Junkie, this is a prime example. The Pro Lures come with these little ribs around them, so it's a good way to measure your jig head off stuff. Where, as you can see, this Crush City one, it's just a fish profile. It's a lot harder to measure where your hook's actually going to come out. Before you put the jig head in the soft plastic, you want to put the jig head over the top of it to see where the jig head comes out. And as you can see on the Pro Lure, it comes out on that third slit at the back. So you then just turn it around, stab the hook in nice and straight, all the way down to that third slit, and then you pull it out that third slit, and then it will scrunch up all like this, looking weird and how you're going, but then you just push it over this little lure keeper and then it will be straight.
When you're first fishing, most people will go out in the middle of the day, which is the hottest part of the day, and they'll throw around lures and be like, oh, I don't catch anything. When you first start, sunrise is the best time, sunset is the second best, and midday I would say don't even touch it, especially if you're land-based, because you won't catch anything. So the best tip is when you first start lure fishing, go early morning or late afternoon, and then that way gives you the best possible outcome. You can still catch fish in the middle of the day, but one, it's hot, you're not going to enjoy yourself. Two, it's less likely and takes longer. So your overall experience is going to suck, and then you're going to just give up and then not do it. So just go 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the arvo, stay inside and drink some Kool-Aid while it's still hot. Now when you get your lures, no matter what anyone tells you, there's literally only 2 ways to use a lure. Everyone just overcomplicates it, thinks too hard, or someone says something and it just confuses them. The only way you can use a lure really is you can do a straight wind or you can hop it. That's literally it. And then you can mix it up and do your own, like one wind, straight wind, hop hop. You can do whatever, but you can literally only straight wind or hop it. So don't overcomplicate. About 95% of the time I hop my lures, because personally I think it's a lot better because you're always doing something instead of just standing there like that. I get too bored doing that. But the hard part with lure fishing is knowing what lure to hop and what lure to slow wind, because each lure has a different action. And a good rule of thumb is to find out what technique you want to use. Just put it in the water at your feet and run it back and forwards, and if it moves, you can slow wind it and hop it, and if it doesn't move, you pretty much just hop it.
See, I've got this curly tail tied on, so drop it at your feet and move it back and forwards. And as you can see, the curly tail moves in the water. So that means you can slow wind this one or hop this one along the bottom. So now I've got this jerk shad on, so drop it at your feet. As you can see, it's got literally zero movement. So that means it's a hopping plastic. So you want to hop these. Also the action's in its name being called a jerk shad. You jerk it.
Even if I can slow wind something, I'll hop it 95% of the time, because fish will usually eat the lure when you pause it. So when you hop, hop, pause, it'll start sinking and then the fish will eat it. So that's why I do it all the time.